Yes, good evening, one and all. Welcome to another Sunday at the round table. Oh man, there's so much things to talk about. So much thing to talk about, so much. And I don't know where to start. Today we have MP Anthony Hylton from Western St. Andrew. I want us to talk to him about the work that he's doing in West St. Andrew, especially around this digital access, providing students access to a digital hub, learning hub. I also want to talk to him about Parliament, if he can give us some clarity through the confusion. And to help me explore this another topic, I have with me today Patrick and Herb Nelson. Brother Ishmael is going to join us. He and his team is going to join us and talk about the work that they're doing. Sister Maxine,
Yes.
welcome, Sister Maxine. And Ishmael is going to join us at some point, but until then, we proceed, eh? Mr. Hilton, how you do, sir?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good. Let me. Yes, I'm good. Let me acknowledge everyone, Sister Maxine, um, all the usual suspects on the program.
Yes, sir.
Um, good to see you all. It's been a while. But Michael, as I indicated, I'm at a function at Doing the Park for the 60th anniversary of Doing the Park. So
Yes.
I'm with you for the first half an hour. Then I have to go to the function. But so
What,
with respect,
why don't we start with
yeah,
the Parliament first? Because that is, I think, is the most burning issue. You know, with regards to the
yeah. Well,
Parliament, I look at the electoral in this morning, Glean, and it's also a topic of discussion there. But what's really happening with the Parliament?
well, let me. It is really it's a serious matter, very serious matter, because it has to do with governance in general and the role of the Parliament in that process, the legislative process, the lawmaking process. And the issue really arises, from my point of view, from the outcome of the election, which gave the Jamaica Labour Party um, a 49 seat majority, People's National Party 14 seats. That majority from the very beginning was abused. The first thing we should recall that the Prime Minister did, or the leader of the party in Parliament, was to change what had become a best practice, an international best practice, started by his own party while Bruce Golding was in government, when he made the opposition chair all the standing committees of Parliament except two, the PAAC and the PAAC. That's the Public Accounts Committee and the Public Administration Committee. Portia, when she became Prime Minister, followed that pattern, and we all saw the benefits of that, in that the country was kept informed fully, because the opposition had an interest in bringing to their attention any misdeed and anything that the country needed to know. I chaired one of those committees, the Economy and Production Committee, and I complained from that time that the role of the then government that was not chairing the committee was to obstruct the meeting of the committee. And at the end of the period, they then complained that the committees weren't discharging their responsibility, and therefore they're going to change the system and to put the government governing party back in charge of the committee. All of that was a ruse intended, and I said so at the time, intended to have total control of the parliament. The next move that they made was, we recall when the government member of parliament was, what we believe and the entire public believe, was the person seen in a video that was beating a woman with a chair. When it became obvious to everyone that this was the member of parliament, in fact, he never denied it. He never denied it because he couldn't. The other thing was that his own party sanctioned him, and because of the opprobrium and the odium that was attached to that particular conduct, what they simply did was to abuse their privilege in parliament, simply remove him from their side, put him on the side where the opposition was, to distance him from them so they wouldn't smell like him. And then he continued to support them in every single other respects. And they continue to support him in every single other respect. Now, when person cross the floor or change the party, usually is along policy, it's about policy differences. There was no policy difference in this instance. Yet they used the majority to keep him a distance so that they won't have to take responsibility for his conduct. The latest one, however, that is most problematic, started with the previous speaker, when she, for reasons that are still unclear, why she wanted to reinterpret the provisions in law that govern the tabling of the integrity report and also the Auditor General report. Well, from the very beginning, the opposition smelled a rat. The people in Jamaica smelled a rat and said, "But why are you changing it and changing it in a way that made it difficult and more difficult for these reports to be tabled, when the practice, and we believe the law, support the then practice, which is as soon as the Auditor General sends a report, it is tabled." And tabling mean that once it come to the House and it's tabled, then the public have access to it, the media, the public have access to the report. That is how it has been from the beginning. Why they decide to, and what was the reason behind this reinterpretation is yet to be clear. However, the former speaker came with this interpretation. We challenged it and said that's not an interpretation that made sense, and in fact it is going contrary to where the governance of the country is going and what the people are crying out for, which is greater transparency. It turns out that the appearance was given later when an integrity report, when she was a subject of an integrity report about her conduct with respect to the abuse of concession regarding motor vehicle. The situation got so hot that she had to recuse herself. She had to resign, not only from the parliament but from her seat in the parliament entirely. Now, the wife of the prime minister, the now speaker, Juliet Holness, was the deputy at the time. The prime minister and the majority in parliament simply interpreted that the speaker having resigned, then the deputy is the natural should fill the spot. There was not broad agreement, and that the truth is on our side there were differences of opinion. We had different views about it because we felt that there was some inherent conflict. I think you and I had brief exchanges on that, Michael. I don't think we didn't do a program on it, but we had brief exchanges on it. And the fact is that the day when the matter came before the House and the motion was moved for her to become Speaker, Paul who was the leader of opposition business, did go along and said, well, you know, we had no objection to her being the speaker. But the fact is that there's a tradition in the House, which is debatable that it should have been challenged. But the fact is that with the majority that they have, the overwhelming majority, they simply would put her. She would be the speaker anyway. Anyway, having become the speaker, we were, those of us who had concerns and others, many, I was not alone. We then said, well, let's see how she conducts herself. The first thing we're looking for was a reversal of the previous speaker's position on the tabling of documents. Instead of a change, what we got was a doubling down on that same ruling, for what we believe faulty ruling, and she took a position that really, in essence, upheld the previous speaker's position on the matter. Critically, we had asked for the auditor, the Attorney General, to give an opinion on the matter. The opinion came, we found out, and was with the speaker for quite some time. And when it wasn't forthcoming, we asked about the opinion. And the position she took was, well, that's just the opinion of the opinion of the auditor. The Attorney General was to her and not the Parliament, which did not make any sense because the controversy arose in the Parliament. And it was during that controversy that the recommendation was made to her to get the Attorney General's opinion. In any event, it is my view as an attorney that she should have sought the opinion of the Attorney General in the first place before attempting to change what was settled practice in the Parliament. However, she did not, and it just raised concern among us and the public about why are they doing all of this. Well, the controversy continued, and it really centered around the Auditor General reports in the last week, couple of weeks or so, when it became clear that the Auditor General had sent reports that was actually sent back to the Auditor General on the assumption, on the basis that this report by the Auditor General sending the report directly to Parliament, it breached the ruling of the Speaker. We never agreed with that. We don't believe it is the correct ruling. The public does not agree with that is the correct ruling. But more significantly, when the public and the Parliament rose up against her and she sought to sanction the clerk of the House for not obeying her order and sending back the report, the public became very incensed because she sought to discipline the clerk, which is not in our remit to discipline a public servant, particularly one as senior as that. And we thought it was just abusive because the clerk was listed to retire in a matter of weeks. In fact, this coming Friday, the clerk retired. So the question on everybody's mind was, why this public sanctioning and disciplining of the clerk, and what did she do wrong? In any event, we don't believe that your ruling should be followed. And so the debate continues. And so the final point is that when she was, because of the heat on her, she decided to table, the Auditor General, in her interpretation of the law, promptly sent back the report and said, it belongs to the Parliament, and this is the procedure I've always used. This is the procedure I'm following. And this time around, given the whole upheaval and the brouhaha, she tabled those reports, only to find out that the reports were damning reports about some conduct, both in the Financial Services Commission was being run, the lax way in which was being run, that resulted in what we saw at the SNL, where Usain Bolt, as of now, his money can't be accounted for. And then we found out that there were all kinds of practice in the tax administration where buildings were being leased to members of parliament on the government side and not occupied, and millions of dollars were being paid out. So the fact is, the public is entitled to draw the conclusion that the whole purpose of all of this is to hide um, um, reports from the two important bodies, standard bodies, governance bodies, about misconduct and corruption in government. And that was the whole purpose. So it continues and the debate continues. It's a heated one, and I believe ultimately the court has to be made to give a declaratory judgment as to what is the correct ruling, because you have now two important bodies, constitutional bodies, disagreeing about their function and the roles under the law. So we believe that ultimately that's what has to happen.
Thank you for that, brother. Since you start talk, we're joined by Rupi Walters. Welcome, brother Rupi. Ishmael and brother Eccleston. Greetings, my brother. Yes, you have said a lot, my brother, and I want to open up some questions from the others. Patrick, any question?
You kind of
Yeah.
breaking up. Was it a question for me?
Patrick.
No, the question didn't come yet. I was about to ask you. You pretty much gave us a background leading up, over the last several weeks or months, probably.
Having some difficulty hearing.
You're not hearing me? Say Hylton. Say Hylton. Anybody else hearing me?
Yes, I'm not. I didn't. No, I'm hearing you now.
You hearing me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I was asking. I say you gave a background as to what the state was leading up to the whole back and forth with the reports. But what is the state of Parliament now? What is the issue one that is somewhat settled? Because you mentioned that the courts may have to step in, but we're still not clear as to where things are.
No, the issue is not settled. Of course, the Parliament in its other operations meet, but the issue is still an important issue, and one where the opposition and the government and the speakers have a difference of opinion in the speaker's ruling. Clearly, the Auditor General does as well, and other members of the wider public does. And so, in respect of that ruling that affect both the Integrity Commission and the Auditor General report, it is not settled, and we believe that the next step must be that the matter, either the speaker is made to rescind that ruling, meaning change the ruling, or the matter should go to the court for a declaration.
Okay, so the reports still have not been tabled in Parliament.
Yeah, those from the Auditor General that came, the speaker apparently in a change of her ruling, although she has not said she changed her ruling, but I think based on the public demand and the firestorm, she has tabled the report, but still insisting that her ruling stand. I'm not sure how that worked, but if she attempts to invoke that ruling again, the protest will continue, and I believe ultimately she either rescind it or she'll be made to, the matter will have to be brought before the courts, one way or the other.
Okay.
But let me ask you this, Mr. Hylton. Given the PMP position, one must ask whether or not it is wise for the PMP to continue attending the Parliament under the present arrangement.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. That is always, withdrawing from the House is always an option.
Yeah, I think Mr. Hilton drop off. I asked that question now because the PMP, the argument is that some sort of lack of confidence in this woman, Miss Holness, that she can exercise some independence of her husband. And I think most Jamaican find that hard to believe because when two head get on pillow, sweet words and anything can lead to, but we're talking about the people business, right? And if the one party is saying that why the current arrangement not so nice, then they have to seek to fix it, no? Mr. Hilton, you're with me? Mr. Hilton is not with me.
Okay. Michael, did anybody see the show Rattigan yesterday? Reason with Rattigan?
Yes, yes, I saw it.
We did an extensive exchange with Buchanan, Isaac Buchanan. All right. We
Yeah.
actually read the parts of the report, and we read the regulation pertaining to the report. You know what the title at the top of the report says?
No, tell me.
It said special report, right? Which is the key to everything. Because when the speaker sent it back, she was telling the Auditor General that it had to be submitted to the Minister of Finance first. He could have it for 60 days, then give it to the Parliament. That pertained to a report that was not a special report, and a report that was jointly ordered by the House itself. You guys following me on that?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
Mr.
so
Hilton
far.
can help.
Okay,
Mr. Hilton,
so
suppose can help us on that.
if Mr. Hilton is there, then our only question was why didn't the leader of the opposition or somebody on the justice or side that's this shadow minister for justice speak up to that, because that's the crux of the whole problem, right?
Mr. Hilton?
No, no, I don't agree. I hear you talk about joint authoring of report. There is no joint authoring of any report.
No. You came in at the tail end of the comment. The joint authoring
Okay.
pertain to, I think it's section 30. A special report is done under section 29, and I'm just quoting from what we were reading yesterday on the regulation. Section 29 says the Auditor General will submit a special report directly to the Speaker of the House. What the Speaker of the House was saying that they did not follow parliamentary procedures, and that she was ruling that the report should have gone to the Minister of Finance. He could hold on to it for 60 days, and then he could forward it to the House at that point. But this was a special report.
Well, let me.
Yeah.
But just before you respond, Mr. Hilton, I think part of the discussion, if I remember, was that the report really is not to be characterized as a special report because it isn't. That was kind of my understanding.
Because of the findings.
Right, that it wasn't a special report.
No, but that's the title of the report, though.
Well, that's it. Well, first of all, it was a special report. This was not a performance audit carried out in the normal course by the Auditor General. This was a particular report done because of the problems that was obvious to everyone that is taking place at the commission, the FSC. And so the Auditor General, I believe correctly, titled it a special report. And in those reports, in that sense, it ought to come directly to the Parliament. That is how it has always been. It is not the performance audit where that has happened from time to time. You go through a ministry, you carry out the regular kind of audit about its performance, in which case the minister get to look at it. But even in terms of the practice, when I was minister, audits were done on the ministries that I was responsible for, and the report never came to me, and I never quarreled because my permanent secretary and the officers, technical officers, were involved in it, and ought properly to have brought that to my attention. It was not necessarily the Auditor General. And so when the matter went to Parliament, we simply had to defend the matter in the Parliament, in the full glare of the public. So why should that be any different? And that has been the practice for since the beginning of time. So what's the difference? Why change it now in perhaps what has been the most corrupt administration in the country?
Well, there's the answer.
Yeah,
Well,
you haven't answered the question I asked Mr. Hylton. If the PMP is so peeved about this, why take part in this parliament? Why not?
No, Michael, I answered. I don't know if I was interrupted or fell off, but I answered it extensively. I may have. Maybe that's when the internet went.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me repeat what I said. I said that is an option for the opposition. However, that is not an option to be exercised willy-nilly. The public, we have a constant engagement with the public, and yes, some want you to stay away forever until this thing is settled. The vast majority of Jamaicans are saying that the Parliament have other business and several other important business to conduct. And when you walk away from the House without knowing and having any sense as to when this will be resolved, what you're doing is walking away from some serious other responsibilities that the opposition has in the Parliament. Now, that view, as of now, is a prevailing view, but it does not mean that couldn't change, because depending on how this matter is handled ultimately, that is an option. But I want to say that is not the option that you want to exercise at the drop of a hat, and your first response is to walk out of Parliament. That is old-time behavior, and we really have to find a way to really see how we walk and chew gum, do the business of the people while getting the matter addressed and resolved. And I believe we can do both for the time being. That may change depending on what the government decides to do, but as of now, the view is that we will press on the matter, but still participate and get the business of the people done.
Let me hear from the whole female member of the panel, no? Maxine, give us your take, because you're a very reasoned person. Come.
No, I think I'm more curious about the integrity report and the ping pong, table tennis being played, because, so I don't know if the matter that is going to the court resolves the integrity report issue, where the people are more than interested to understand why this matter is not aired, as and the speculations that are being put out there, and the theories are not good for the nation, you know what I mean? Because as Mr. Hylton says, we have a lot of pressing business and decisions to be made, that are critical decisions, in relation to the economics of the people. So we don't want this roiling the Parliament, in this environment. So my concern is, what could it be why they are just sticking out so much about this integrity report? What, just get it done and let us move on to the let the chips fall where they may. and let us move on. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Maxine, let me just say
Well,
that on this report, with the Auditor General, she has relented and tabled the report, but she has not. She's still insisting that her interpretation is the correct interpretation. So she has not yielded or changed her position. And so, if and when another set of reports come, we may well find ourselves back in the same situation. But as of now, this set of report has been tabled, and what it has shown is that there was in fact something to hide, and they were, I believe, in fact, hiding something before the local government election, because I dare say, had those reports been tabled before, there would certainly be an issue in the local government election, or simply confirmed what was a major issue in the local government election, which is the corruption in the government.
But that was the objective, Mr. Hylton. The objective was to obfuscate and hide those issues. And so they held on to the report. And when the question of the status of the report came up again, they simply sent it back to the Auditor General using that excuse that it was the procedures that it was processed under were incorrect. But it turns out the Auditor General was in fact correct, and she promptly sent it back. So, she's not going to argue with the Speaker over that. It's up to the Speaker now to apologize to the clerk of the House that she berated in that letter, to tell her how wrong she was. She needs to apologize to that woman and to reverse herself. That's what I think.
But
You guys should be.
well, that's our position. That's our position, but I'm not clear what is it that the PNP should have done differently. Someone was suggesting we should have done something differently.
So, Mr. Hylton, what is the other set of report that is just the auditor report seems to have, in my mind, come recently enough, and has been addressed. But there's a standing set of integrity reports that has been, the fire underneath this whole corruption and what is going on, or is there something major with, I think they said 6 parliamentarians.
Yeah, that's an issue, but it's a slightly different one from the tabling issue.
Okay.
It is the issue of the naming the 6 parliamentarians, and why the Prime Minister is not saying who they are, or why the individual persons who would have known who they are, because the Integrity Commission has said it has written to those persons to indicate that they were under investigation. I can declare in this program I've gotten no such letter, so I know I'm not being investigated. But so the others must say whether they've gotten letters. But the Prime Minister and the Cabinet has blocked anyone from speaking on the matter, so they can't speak on the matter. Whether they were written to an investigation is being done or not. So we'll see.
But it actually is more than that, Mr. Hylton, because the word circulating in the air, even as far as throughout the diaspora, is that even the Prime Minister and his wife, the Speaker, right, are implicated in all of this as being part of the 6.
That's speculation. We don't know that. But
that's what I'm saying. Speculation or not, I'm saying that it makes the impasse that much more because of the position that the Speaker holds, right, and the position she has taken, and also, right, what we have learned about the operations about the Speaker and the Prime Minister over the last several months, and corruption.
Well,
Well, it's you as you said, it's everywhere, and I believe it's in their interest to clear this up. But they are standing. That's their position. They are standing on their position, and we are insisting that that should be known. And the Prime Minister, at a minimum, should explain to the country why his report is not being his declaration is not being accepted and published, as the
So
leader of opposition has had to do.
well,
is this a matter that would be going to the judiciary, the court, in what you said that would be going to court? Is this behavior or is this different from the Auditor General scenario?
It's different in the sense that the Integrity Commission is, as said, it is still doing its investigation. But as and when it finishes its investigation, all it has to do is send the report forward, and then the issue become whether the speaker is going to table it or not. And so the issue would be either the issue would be raised again, or a resolution has to be found. But the once the investigation is completed and the Integrity Commission sends it forward, it is our view that the speaker is bound to table it.
Now, is there any time frame in which that has been indicated in which the report will be ready or the investigation will be completed? Because this again is something that has been going on for a while.
Yeah, there's no declared time frame, and nor is any in the law.
Yeah, but this
Let us
also
bring
adds to the impact.
Yeah, but what there are two questions. Maxine asked a question about the law, and then there's a question of the perception. And yes, there's a problem with the perception, but the law doesn't require that they give a date certain as to when they'll publish the report. They'll conclude the investigation.
let me say this personally. I would like to see a more aggressive PMP. Around
I know
this.
that, Michael. I know your question, but we have
Yeah,
to be wise.
yeah, but hear me. All right, that's what I want to see. But I want to bring the young people into the discussion. We have Ishmael, Eccleston, and there's another sister. I haven't seen her yet. What? You heard the discussion so far. You are young people, and the Parliament must be of concern to you. What do you think? What's your view on what's happening in the Parliament and what Mr. Hylton is saying? Ishmael, let me start with you, and you can introduce the others who are here with you, Ishmael. Go ahead. I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you, bro.
Yeah, sorry about that. Good evening again. Thank you for having me for another week, yet another week. I know Michael. Good evening, panelists. Sir Rupert. MP, good evening. How are you?
I'm good.
Wonderful. I would prefer to have the youth member of parliament go first because he is fresh out of parliamentary proceedings. So have him take a stab at it, and then Atari can go, and then I'll go last, given that I'm the older.
He's from Waterhouse.
They are
He's
from
from
Waterhouse,
Waterhouse,
yes.
right?
They both are.
All right, good.
They both are. So they can
All
go
right.
ahead and introduce themselves. Well, let me ask Atari to go first so she can introduce herself. Give her opinion on her take rather on what is going on, especially as it relates to the issues in relation to parliamentary proceedings, and a little bit about herself and the work we're doing in Waterhouse. Atari, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Atari.
Good afternoon.
I'm 18 and I attend Middlebrook High School.
Speak up.
I said I'm 18 and I attend Middlebrook High School.
Anything else? All right. So hello. So in relation to So in relation to the issues going on, I can shed some light on it, um, from the standpoint of being entrenched in the process in terms of being the
What
former youth member of parliament before Curdane. Um, but let's see what Curdane has to say first.
All right, good evening, panelists. Good evening, everyone. I am Curdin Eccleston, and I'm the current youth member of parliament for the Plural constituency of Western St. Andrew. And I've been here listening to the conversations back and forth in terms of the whole procedure of the tabling of reports and etc. And my stance on this topic is one of deep, I must say, deep observations. So, based off based off what has been going on for the past couple of weeks in the House of Parliament and the different procedures which were supposed to be followed and they were not followed according to the reports and stuff, and the lack of tabling reports from the Integrity Commission and the Auditor General. To be honest, I believe that we need a government that is totally transparent and that is totally accountable for whatsoever wrongs they probably stumble in along the way. Because even if it's something right, they're going to come and want the accountability aspect of it. They're going to say, we did this, we did that. So why can't they be the persons in the wrong times, in the flaws that they made, come and say, hey, that this was something that I did and I did not do it according to procedures, really and truly. But in terms of the whole report and the tabling and the whole sanction of the clerk, really and truly, I felt like that should not have been really and truly something that was really made public in terms of the stance that the speaker of the house took with the clerk in terms of sanctioning her, especially a senior clerk at that. Really and truly, I feel like there should be a hierarchy in terms of how things are done in the House of Parliament. And all these things that we're speaking about currently exist, but because of the government that is currently in power, fail to really and truly follow these guidelines and these regulations that we set as a country and as a nation that allows transparency and accountability to be clear, really and truly. So I definitely believe that all of these stuff that is currently happening should be something that is a bit more out there and transparent to the nations. And even if the opposition leader did not have made mention to it, everyone would really and truly, say, oh, I remember nothing about that and stuff. So I'm really glad that the opposition leader made this mention the other day in his budget debate, just to remind the wider nation about these things that the current government are going around and stuff. So that is my true take on this situation.
Michael, let me just remind. I apologize because I'm a bit late for the function, and I'm a speaker at the function there, so I don't know how much longer I can stay with you, but I'd like to hear what Ishmael view is on it before I go.
Okay, so world, watch out! Curdin is coming to save us. That's the first thing I have to say. In relation to my view on the whole debacle taking place in front of us, it's one of, I must say, disappointment, because the truth is, in relation to the houses of parliament and in relation to each member of parliament that sits in the house, it is incumbent upon each person to not just follow the procedures of parliament, but it is also incumbent on each person to be morally upright. And I use that word very strongly, because the truth is, with morality, it comes its cousin, integrity. And if it is that there is an issue that arises within parliament, or in relation to the procedures of parliament, I think, and ethics is something that is also, has to be thrown into
All right,
the
gentlemen,
into the
I'm being
question.
called now.
Yeah, man.
I have to go.
All right, not a problem.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
Mhm.
talk.
Right.
Yeah, continue, Ishmael.
Yeah. So ethics has to be also thrown into the discussion, because had it not been um a case where there were issues in relation to the processes, we wouldn't be here now. And if it were that people were being one, transparent, people were being two, morally upright, or people are or members of parliament, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to put them in a vacuum, were being 100% transparent and that of personal integrity, we wouldn't be having these issues now. And it leaves us, the public, to say to think that there is in fact something afoot, and you wouldn't want that, because the truth is that is the highest decision making body as it relates to the population of the land. And if that decision making body can't make simple issues as it relates to how do you take a particular document from a ministry, department of or agency, or that of um a constitutional arm of of the nation, in relation to how do you take that document from them to give to parliament so that the public can see. Something as simple as a particular document can't be resolved. I think we have deeper issues, and the issues aren't just in relation to the processes of parliament. Issues um, is, do we really want to continue? And I'm not going to say 49. Do we really want to continue having these 63 members of parliament govern us? Because if they can't handle something as simple as, you know, tabling a document in parliament, what else can't they handle? Better, you know, let's say something um serious is about to take the country. Can we really trust them to lead us through it? And this is part of the reason why I continue to lament on civic engagement and civic pride in oneself, because but for a party, that's what I call them, apathy, the apathetic 70% of our nation that don't want to participate in the political process, the truth is I don't think we would be here. So nevertheless, we are here now, and and the majority of the parliamentarians decide that they want to, for argument's sake, you know, play willy-nilly with our constitution, and in relation to our um to our right to know. I think personally it's an indictment upon them. It is upon them as a person, and I don't want to hear anybody tell me about this isn't the process and this isn't the process and whatever the case is. It is incumbent upon you. There is a saying, in integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's watching. So if the nation, and by and large the world, is watching and these things are happening, imagine what is happening when we aren't watching.
Well, let me just say, and I have to go now because I'm being called. But
Mhm.
Ishmael, I just want you to reflect. I hear talk about 63 members. That of course includes me. And the fact is that you this relativism where you paint everybody with a broad brush. Call the names of those who are not doing what they're supposed to do. Why how you bring all 63 into this? Anyway, I shall return, but I have to go.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
All right.
Rupi, you are building
I
that. Thank you,
unfortunately I have to go. Yeah?
Yes.
thank you very much, man.
Mm.
Thank you,
Right.
Rupi. Rupi, you heard the discussion, you heard the lamentation of the youths and what have you. What's your take? Wait, Rupi asleep?
It doesn't seem like he's hearing you.
He's now he's stuck.
Okay,
He'll soon come back.
Rupi stuck. I'm not supposed to talk.
No, I
Yeah,
mean
just
screen.
I'm not supposed
yeah,
to talk.
let me just address what my member of parliament said, and I understand his concerns. I do understand his
Yeah.
concern. And they are in fact, warranted.
No,
Um,
no apologies, Ishmael. No
no, man, I'm
apologies.
not. I'm not apologizing, but what he said is in fact warranted because is a man I know personally. I know he's of the
No. But
integrity. But
here's the thing.
in relation to the processes of parliament, the truth is they are the 63 members of parliament. So even though it is in fact a particular substrata of persons, one bad apple will in fact spoil the whole bunch. So that is my take in relation to that. So he may not be, in fact, a member of what is going on, but you won't hear that, let's say 62 or 49 members of parliament are causing the issue. You will hear that the Parliament of Jamaica is making an issue, and that is what I'm saying. So, in relation to that, please screenshot this because you must know it is also not serving you any good, MP, or the opposition any good at all to have this particular issue, drag on. And I know that it's a particular issue that it's sore for every one of us. But the truth is, um, it is in fact the 63 members of you that come to us in order to represent us every 5 years. So it is what it is. So I know him personally. I know he's a man of highest integrity, but I have to stand by my word.
Ishmael, if please, if you'll stop trying to apologize, because that's really what it amounts to, right? You trying to apologize to Mr. Hylton. Mr. Hylton have a tendency to put his own foot in his mouth, right? And he has to be careful about that. You were not personal when you said it, so there's no reason for him to take it personally. Right? It was not a personal attack on him. So there's nothing to defend. Right?
Yeah, but you said something I have to correct. I'm not going to agree with the statement that Mr. Hylton has a tendency to put his foot in his mouth. I'm not going
No,
to
I have
hold
my
it.
reasons for saying that.
No,
I have my reasons for saying
just,
that.
can you allow me to finish, please?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to agree with that statement.
I'm not asking you to agree.
Are you going to allow me to finish? Are you going to take it over and run with it? Allow me to finish,
Take
man.
over what?
Come
on, man.
Let me finish, bro.
No, just say, go ahead, answer what you're saying.
I think Mr. Hylton has a reason to react the way he did. And it's a statement which I would agree with. Okay? That you can't make generalization right across the board because even in the worst situation, there's still some positive. Okay? So with that, I want to bring Rupi into the discussion because Rupi is a man in the trench for a long time and we are organized and what have you. You heard the young people, Rupi. You heard Mr. Hylton. I don't know if what he's offering the young people going to buy in terms of approach, organized structures to move the Jamaican people forward. Young people seem to be asking for something totally different. I might be wrong. What do you think?
All right. Can I say good evening to everyone? First, just a point of clarity. What was that specific point that Patrick said that Sir Hylton put his foot in his mouth? What was it specifically? I'm not clear.
I don't know. Patrick could have to clear that. He made a
No,
statement.
but you defend it, Michael. If you defend it, you must know
No.
why you're basically trying to set to Patrick. No, you don't agree. So what was
No,
the point
what was it?
specifically?
Ishmael made a statement that all 63 representatives of parliament they must figure out how to deal with this thing, more processes and what have you. If they can't angle a simple thing like this, then all 63 politicians bear responsibility. And I'm saying to the argument that, listen, we have to balance it, because it's not everyone involved with the mix up in a parliament. You have some man that they genuinely want to bring
Fair
next
enough.
change, but
But
because of the structure.
yeah.
Go ahead,
But
bro.
I still want to know at what point Patrick say that Mr. Hylton was putting about tendency for putting him out. Patrick?
Well,
All right, let me explain that point first
Right.
of all, right?
Right.
But just to go back a bit to what Ishmael said to begin with, right? Ishmael was making a general comment as it pertains to Parliament, right, and its whole process of operation, right, which
Fair enough.
never seemed to bring clarity and all of that. Now, what happens is that Mr. Hylton was quick to respond, right, that he felt somewhat attacked because he was being included, being a part of the 63, right, members of Parliament. He felt he took it personal. That's the bottom line, right? When it wasn't anything personal, right? And I'm saying, and then Ishmael, of course, got defensive. And I tried to tell Ishmael, let's look beyond that. Don't get defensive about it, right? Because Mr. Hylton have a tendency to do that, but it's not like he's intentionally, right, feel attack, right? But because he comes on the program from the very first time he has been on the platform, and I've spoken to him about this many times, right? Because one of the jobs as a politician is that you're gonna be looked at, right, in a critical way. That's always gonna happen.
Fair enough.
Right? And it's not something to be taken personally. You take your position, but Mr. Hylton also has a tendency of coming on, and even when he brings out certain points about what the government might do and so on, right? Then he too tried to get defensive about certain actions. Right? And that's all I was speaking to. Right? We can't get to clarity that way.
Right. To put my perspective to oral discussion. First of all, Michael, I understand the position from Ishmael, because, and this is one of the things I love about Ishmael. Even when it's Ishmael party, and minister is his minister, and I presume that they have interaction from time to time over community issues and matters and so on.
Disclaimer.
But
MP
the
is my very
objectivity
good
of
friend.
Ishmael
MP is my very good friend. Okay.
Allow Ishmael as a young person to come on the program and represent the views and opinion of young people, which is basically as how he put it. I mean, I don't agree with him, and I can tell him specifically what I don't agree with him with. But what he is presenting is the feelings amongst young people in general that, look, man, the whole 63 of you guys must just get your act together and be civil and deal with the parliament and the fact that we elect you to basically govern the country and govern. That is, in essence, what I take from Ishmael. Where I have a slight disagreement with Ishmael, right, is that, in a nutshell, the persons are the people, is the 49 that basically choose. They are the governing party. They have 49 representatives in that parliament of 63. That represent 2/3. And they choose as the government that is running the country. and basically have the vast, not just the majority, but the vast majority in Parliament, they choose to get up and walk out first in the history of the country since adult suffrage. And there is so much first around that. But not only that, is the sheer stupidity. It's just the sheer stupidity of the fact that me a run things and me a govern. And the opposition get up and make a little statement. And you choose to take it personal. If you take it personal, then you individually should have got up and walk out. You shouldn't tell the other 48 to come behind you. I mean, it is just a joke. So while I agree with Ishmael in presenting the views and opinion of young people, basically the entire parliament have to grow up and be more mature. Because Ishmael and the brethren and the young sister is for them country, this country. Most of us and this program is in the departure launch. And we have to show as parliamentarian, as Mr. Hylton is, and the other 62, we must show young people that basically need to operate in a certain way that don't leave a lot to be desired. Basically, this is how mature people act. But as I say, I disagree with him because it's not the PNP that walk out. What the PNP do, I represent the people. And the PNP presented a position that basically echo the views and opinion of the people, because that is what the people are saying. For him to be the prime minister and his wife be the speaker, basically the chairperson for the parliament, is contradictory. And basically it not in good taste. But even more so, she used her position time and time and time again to basically stop the opposition from speaking and to hold document that is submitted to the parliament, which should be shared amongst the entire parliament. So from that point of view, the opposition was correct, and on the street were the feeling that this is not the right thing. So I now bash Patrick Michael. I can understand. I would rather him say what him said though if Hylton was on the platform. Because it look a little way as Hylton leave, that is when him choose to
if
actually make the statement. But I don't think it was deliberate, right?
if I may,
Yes, so
if I may, if
Ishmael,
I may
I love
quickly,
Ishmael,
yeah,
man.
man. If I may, just to add a little context, because context always matter. Um, if I may, Elder Rupi, Uncle Rupert. So there is this saying, and Auntie Maxine can back me up on it. That our fair agenda always use, and you guys on the platform know it too. All men are dogs. You know that saying? You know that saying, Auntie Maxine?
Yep.
Okay. I want everybody on this platform and in the comments. Are all men in fact dogs?
Maybe they are not,
Oh,
but they
okay.
have an inclination that they could.
Mm, okay. So, so through that reasoning, it's the same thing with the 63 members of parliament. I know all of them are thief. I just six of them I look for now. I know the all of them are thief. So I do understand again what Uncle Rupi you were saying, and I understand again why my good friend, you know, Anthony Hylton, he felt the inclination to defend himself because he in fact isn't a part of it. But I wasn't trying to broad brush any issue. I was making a strong point and a valid one at that, that you will continue to hear that all men are dogs, but it is incumbent upon Ishmael, Michael, Patrick, Herb, Curdain, and Rupert to show the world that all men are not in fact dogs. No, sir.
Well, here's the thing. Here's
Fair
the
enough.
thing, Ishmael. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Here's the thing, Ishmael. It's as simple as this. If there's a saying, all men are dogs, it don't mean that you, because you're a man, it follows that you're going to go out there and bark. Right? Unless you feel like you're a dog. It's that simple.
So yeah, so I do understand where
I
he's
think
coming from. So it is incumbent upon him and how much male member of parliament on the opposition. I think is what 10, a 10 or 9. It is incumbent upon them as men and the women to show that they aren't thieves. Now, the first step that they made is to make it clear that they weren't, in fact, being investigated. So that is wonderful. So we know, say the 14 are uno as far as uno say uno no thief. We know that. We know that for sure. Because if uno say uno no thief, we have to take on a word for it. Right? It will be, in fact, well, let me finish. It will be it will be very interesting if it is that the findings show that one of the opposition is in fact a part of the illicit six, because it means that that particular person is a liar, not just a liar, he's a thief too. And you know them say thief and liar work hand in hand. So it is in fact interesting if it is that none of them are in fact part of the illicit six and a part of the hoorah that is happening now, then we have to look at the 49. But make no qualms about it. When you represent anywhere in the world or whenever parliament is called, you never hear 49 versus 14. You hear the Parliament of Jamaica. They are the ones that are in fact responsible for the budget, representation of the people, and a myriad of other things that concern the Jamaican people and the diaspora as well.
However,
Not the diaspora.
however,
Me that try have it's a bone me at you.
yeah,
all right, but if you understand that the illicit enrichment would have to be occurring from the party who is in government or cabinet or however they do it, because they are the ones with the cookie jar, right? And whoever is in opposition has the position to observe the ones who have the cookie jar and who, so the idea that the six are in the government is fair. It's not being incriminating of whatever. They are the ones with the cookie jar. My thought as the reason was going on is, why is it only 13 or 14 to 49? What is it that, and I'm remembering, what is it that caused the balance to be so overwhelming, that we are now sitting through 5 years in this position
The
as an
election caused it,
opposition?
Auntie Maxine.
Huh?
The election caused it.
I know that, but
Mm.
we as
No, beyond the election.
we as the 14 that are in dispute of what the 49 are doing, you understand? We have some responsibility towards why is on the 14 of us opposing them. Because I remember somewhat, I wasn't very involved in the election, right? But I remember there was an internal dispute amongst us that allowed this railroading of 49 to occur. It shouldn't be so unbalanced.
Let me.
That isn't the question. No, I'm just saying, like how Ishmael had a question coming up.
Yeah, I'm with you, Maxine. I'm with you on that, because the way I look at it is like this. We all have a responsibility. Every single one of us as Jamaicans have a responsibility, because it all begins with ourselves, right? If we choose not to participate in the process, That's a personal decision we make. And we have to hold ourselves accountable for that decision. Whatever decision we make, we hold ourselves accountable for that. If we choose to participate in the process, right, and become a representative, right, then we know we must have a clear definition of what our role is. And in carrying out that role, we have to first hold ourselves accountable, right? If we can't hold ourselves accountable, we can't hold anybody accountable. That is how it works. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to be defensive about, because when you're operating with integrity and honesty, right, there's nothing to hide from. It is when you're not operating with integrity and honesty that you try to do a cover up. You try to give the appearance that things are not as they seem. Right? But what is glaring with this government is the corruption and all of that. And all their actions support that. Every step of the way.
But is it
Right? And the whole thing about it is that the opposition, regardless of its size, regardless of its voice, right? As long as it's audible, they must not shy away from their role. They must not shy away from the role. If it's one in opposition, he can't shy away from his role.
Can we bring? Yeah, Herb. Yeah, you talk more soft. Yeah.
Yes, listen. The role of the opposition, and I put it in the chat. If you look in private chat,
yes,
they play a crucial role when it comes to the transparency, accountability, and to challenge where government has left the station and left the beaten path. And in what I said earlier to Mr. Hylton, I'm surprised as an attorney he didn't lock onto it like I said and Ratty did yesterday. Because if you have a regulation that says special is handled this way, and the general other general reports are handled in a different fashion, why? Because those are joint reports. It's usually determined by the House who they want to investigate, and then in turn the Auditor General submits that report. But the Auditor General has seen things that are so outrageous that they spoke about it. For instance, with the commission, the FSC. The FSC had 50-something employees in positions where they were completely unauthorized. And what I'm saying is the positions were not anywhere in government books authorized. But they hired these people and then they turn around and says, oh, we could do it because we're an independent agency. No, they come under the Ministry of Finance. So then the question that the opposition should have raised is how can the Ministry of Finance sit there and not audit the very commission responsible for auditing other financial organizations? This is exactly the prelude to SSL, why SSL occurred and why they can't give a straight answer as to what happened after the KPMG report came in, right? That KPMG report must have been damning about the FSC also. Failure to manage. And as to how the Prime Minister was then prompted to remove his funds because he saw a disaster about to happen, right? So when we're saying that when Ishmael made the point that it's incumbent upon the 63 members He's right, because it's the standard that those 63 members put up with. You can't be making excuses to say, oh, well, it's a special report, but there's no but, right? It spells out what needs to happen with special reports. And if you're going to talk about these are the buildings that the tax administration of Jamaica was paying over 300 million to maintain, and they were empty, and it was a waste of the taxpayers' funds. It's incumbent on 63 members to address that. Why wasn't it addressed by all 63 members? Or, like I said to Mr. Hylton, the spokesperson for that particular ministry who mismanaged that situation, which might have been Ministry of Finance. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right? You got to put responsibilities where they lie. And if you have shadow ministers, then shadow ministers got to speak up about the things that is wasteful, wanton waste of the taxpayers' funds.
Herb, I think we'll all agree that corruption is a problem in Jamaica, and it's not just yesterday. Corruption go way back in our experience as Jamaica. I think the hope for the Jamaican people is the young people before us right now. A new generation with nurture and help and support this generation of youth that come up behind us. Go ahead, my brother.
I'm so glad that you made that comment about this generation and coming up, and these are the generations of hope. How can this generation be the generation of hope if the current government and the current members of parliament are doing and being involved in activities such as this, and we are looking up to them as one that should be making a way and being the example? That is what we are going to look, and that is what we're going to do when we're in those positions. For example, the other day when the government walked out, I was watching the debate live, and I'm saying, what kind of example is the government members and the prime minister at that setting, for the upcoming young prime minister or the upcoming young members of parliament? This cannot be acceptable, because the generation that is coming up are going to follow along the same line, and then no, we're not going to see a country that is totally going to become a evaluating country, and a country that is going to become a better country, because it's the same old, same old, same old. Come on. So that was just the point that I was just trying to make.
Anyone have any advice for Kudin?
Yes. I'd love to respond to Kudin.
Yeah, but I think Patrick.
Hey, I don't want. Hey, listen to me, man. Listen to me, man.
Hold up, Patrick.
Sure.
I think Patrick.
A genius that
Just a minute, Patrick. I think there's something wrong with your mic. It's very loud. I'm not sure about the others, but it's very loud in terms of coming through.
You may have to just turn your volume down a bit.
How is this? This any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, man, that sound okay to me.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, this is all right?
Yeah, man. Go ahead, Patrick.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I really like what Kudin said, right? Because there's a very fundamental lesson to be learned from the situation as it exists right now, right? With the state of the Jamaican government, right? And this whole discussion we're having around leadership and party and so on, right? Some of you more familiar with me would have heard me make the statement a few times that politicians are not leaders. And that's something I feel strongly about. And it's not just a perspective, right? It's clearly an observation and a lesson I've learned, right? Because what happens is that in looking at where we are, right, we have to look at how we came to where we are right now. What preceded us getting here, right? We're coming out of a state of colonialism, right? And in many ways, a lot of the things that we practice, right, or we put into our everyday practices and so on, is based on what we learn from our experience with colonialism and so on, right? We carry a legacy from that. And essentially, what we're aiming to do is to change all of that, right? That's the only way we're gonna move forward, right? To really release ourselves of this colonial legacy, right? When you look at the way in which this government in particular operates, classic colonialist style, the very way in which they operate, right? And they're bold with it because that's how you know the system has always been. That's how it brought us to where we are. It doesn't allow for you to acknowledge your errors, right, and take steps to make correction. So, Cordain, you're absolutely right. If you continue to do things in the old way, there's no way it's gonna reflect change, right? And I'm glad you spotted that.
But I think we do a disservice to this young man if we just say, when we criticize, we just start point our fingers at the GLP. We leave now, leave
I don't think
between
that's
us.
what I don't think that's what Patrick is doing at all, though.
No,
But
no, let me
I
finish.
understand where you're going.
No, I'm not saying that he's doing that. I'm saying that in terms of source for inspiration, example, we have to go beyond the just critique of the JLP.
Mm.
We have to put everything on the table, and the question, what new can we learn from the experience with the GLP and the PMP? Because that's one of the reasons why we have so much people. 70% of the people, them not convinced yet, or them turn off.
And
70% of people not prepared to take part in the democratic process at this point.
Can I make a point
So,
here, Michael?
Go ahead, Rupi.
I think the general views, and I think Herb just makes some very important point, which in our way substantiate Ishmael's view as it relating to the responsibility of all 63. And I think young, is he Kidian? I not so good. I now make out the name properly. I think to some extent, yeah, Kurdian. I think to some extent, him raised the issue about the example being set, so to speak, and how young people like him and Ishmael and others can basically learn anything that in the future can they actually present something better than what I'm seeing now. Certainly, I would say, I mean, all us have experiences, but the negative experience, we don't necessarily have to adapt, and we don't necessarily have to basically take on that experience. There's other example, good example, because this is a parliament that exists for some time now, maybe 70 or more years, as it relating to the two-party system locally. But I also want to make a broader point. While we accept that the 63 have the total responsibility in terms of good order and being civil, and to actually allow the voters to feel comfortable that them have responsible people in parliament, the fact still remains, that the opposition, the role of the opposition, is basically from time to time to be very critical around various issues and should be there in order to be the watchdog for the entire society. And when you have a government as corrupt as this present JLP government, the most corrupt of all government, as some people say, is the mother of corruption in terms of things that them involved with and all of that, right? I listened to part of Will program yesterday. And the investigation around some people that went to, is it Kigali, I think
Yeah,
in Rwanda,
Rwanda.
that
Yeah,
Commonwealth conference or something like that. And it come out that the people them spend something like 280,000 US dollar for a delegation. So far, I think him says 9% that he was
yeah.
told. And if you multiply that 280 plus US dollar, how much million Jamaican dollar? And there's no way, as we'll put it on that program, that each of them can spend more than possibly 50,000 Jamaican dollar in terms of, or must be 50,000. Yes, I think it's 50,000 Jamaican dollar in terms of travel and lodging and so on and so forth. Right? But come back to the Jamaican situation. The constant discussion around the six that is outstanding. So the opposition have the responsibility for constantly raise these issues, constantly bring it to the attention of the people, and to get the Minister of Finance, that a Minister of Government. There's this elevating in the Ministry of Health now where it is said that there is some funeral parlor that is part owned by Tufton, and all the dead now in a government hospital, them are ship them to somewhere in Spanish Town in St. Catherine. And we can just go on and we find more and more in terms of these corrupted practices and so on and so forth. So while I am agreeing with the chorus as it relating to responsibility for the entire house, we must differentiate and understand that the opposition have a specific responsibility, not necessarily just to oppose, but to ensure that the business of the population and the business of the people is being taken care of, and to ensure that they become the chief watchdog for the coffers of the country, for the 2 penny that the people have and pay as tax.
Well, I think everybody agree with you on that one, and I want to move to another topic in the journey today.
Could I ask one question before you move?
Go ahead, my sister.
The money that they talk about, that the Auditor General saw that how much 100 million were paid for rental for
Two property, one in St.
property
Mary
that
and
they
one
didn't
in
use.
yeah.
Did they indicate who received the money, like who was the landlord?
In
Is
some
it a
instance,
government?
yes. In
Huh?
some instance, I think the answer is yes. For the St. Mary property, I'm not sure, but there's probably it's rumor, but there's a name.
No. There's a government person
Yeah, there's a
who's in
name.
the ministry that had a clear conflict of interest. And what Ratty and I discussed was, how do you pick up on these individuals that work in the ministry and set up the contracting so that they get first dibs or the only dibs on these contracts to rent out buildings? How did it happen that you just happen to have a building that they're gonna put a bid out and you get awarded the contract, right?
It's okay. You can call the name, it's public
But
knowledge. You can
further
sue
to
them.
that as well, there was
Wait a
specific
second, wait a
numbers
second.
of
Well, let him finish, Patrick.
Patrick, all right, Ismail, you were calling out the name.
Yeah, I'm saying you can call the name. They can't sue you because it's public knowledge. His name was also involved in the report.
Okay, all right, sorry.
So what name is that?
I'm
Dr.
saying it
Dunn,
in
I
the
think it's
comment.
Dr. Dunn.
It is.
Dr. Dunn.
Dr. Dunn.
Yeah, man, it
Yeah.
is.
What's the
It
first
is.
name?
Norman.
Norman Dunn.
That is in St. Mary, right?
Yeah,
What
Or
is he?
Portland?
GNP,
Yeah.
St. Mary.
GLP? What is he?
St. Mary.
St. Mary.
JLP. So you're saying that the how much millions that they say was paid to a government landlord?
It's a member of
Mm-hmm.
parliament. He's a
And
member
I'm
of
junior
parliament.
minister. A member of parliament and a junior minister.
Interesting.
And
But there were specific numbers mentioned to numbers and names of civil servants and so on who were involved. So I mean, it wasn't just parliamentarian or government people, but it was also civil
So
servants as well.
No, so
Senior
I
that's
civil
mean,
I was
servants,
curious if it's taxpayers. I was curious if this is private property.
private funds are
it
No,
is in
no.
fact private property. It's his property. It's his
So the
property.
bulk of the monies that are being quoted, however, how much millions?
Some of it going to him.
What
is
portion when you
is
say some
government
of it?
money.
Half of
Government
it?
money.
700,000 per month for the last 2 years. Check that.
okay.
So
Can
what it may come down to, Michael,
yeah.
what we have said, Jamaica needs a agency that fuses the information together about government workers, civil servants as you call them, government workers and government ministers or members of their offices who are put in key positions to manipulate the system, right? And one of them is Khadijah Campbell, the former personal assistant to Prime Minister Holness, appointed to head what? The Constituency Development Fund. That's a fund that they have sworn off of and so they will not manipulate. Well, let's see what happens now that she's in charge of it. This is a prime example of why the Prime Minister pulled all these other agencies into his office. 19 agencies. And they control what? The beach and access to the beach. They control the environment. I mean, everything that's important to Jamaica, he pulls it into his office. Now he's
Which
got
makes
I'm happy
absolutely
you
no
made that.
sense.
I'm so happy you made that
Which
that
made
that, that
absolutely no sense.
observation. You
right.
know what? You know what mainstream media calls OPM?
Yeah.
Super ministry.
Yeah. Hey, it's a
Because
fact.
every income generating ministry is under the office of the PM.
Yeah. Well,
A lot of
not
people
only
didn't
that,
know that, you know. A lot of people didn't know that.
that's true. But you have
That's in
super
part because they
ministries.
don't listen to Rattigan show.
You have super
um,
ministries, Michael, like
the Ministry of
like
Economic Growth and Job Creation, where is
yeah.
it?
Gentlemen
But
and
in
ladies.
fact, you have education that spends $500 million or
Yeah.
more, right?
Corruption
You
is
have
going to be a
health,
problem. And
yeah,
it is a problem.
yeah,
We agree on that. Okay.
yeah.
And what surprised me is we haven't heard the call, lock them up, or the PMP committing themselves to carry out all this and all of those things when they come to office. But
Michael,
No, man, they
that,
have.
that's that,
In respect, they have.
but
They have.
that discussion is for another day
Yeah.
when we
look,
policy
Michael.
subject.
We are having a demonstration on the 10th of May at the New York City Council in
Okay.
Manhattan,
Okay.
right? And this is what it's about. This is the kind of stuff that they're doing that we want to highlight with that demonstration. And then we're going to have our own Diaspora conference at the same time they're having theirs, right? Ours is going to be via this media. And what we'll do, we go from 7 to 10 at night. We will take what they say during the day, and we'll have our experts to come on and give an overview of what they heard.
Okay.
And by the way, if you want to go, you want a platinum membership, it's 3 million Jamaican.
Okay.
I think gold is 2 million and
That's for
bronze is 1.
and that is for the diaspora.
That's for the diaspora.
Okay,
So
all
there
right,
you
all
go,
right,
Maxine.
all right. Well,
Everything
well,
you've
well.
been waiting
Let's.
for.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think something more urgent. We have something more urgent right now,
Yeah.
and that is what's happening in Waterhouse. Ishmael, one of the reasons you're coming here today is to talk about the work that you and these young people are doing in Waterhouse. You know, and how we, the diaspora, can support you because we hear a lot of things about diaspora right now, and we want to get it clear. We want to get some support from the diaspora for what is happening in Waterhouse. So tell us now what's going on. You and your comrade Ishmael.
Curdin. I know why your brand was so so,
Uh, uh,
so
uh,
But I don't
that's
know why
Curdin.
Michael continue to do these things.
all right, all right,
I know why your
all
brand
right, all right. Go ahead. Tell us what's going on in
because you have to go
Waterhouse.
work with the government too, and the government of
Ah,
the day is not, you
okay.
know.
All right, my brother.
Right. So in relation to our work in the space in the community of Waterhouse, by and large, the constituency is that of having more young people to be a part of not just the political process, but to be a part of the engagement process in relation to moving the country forward. Because as Curtin rightfully said, there isn't in fact many examples, proper examples for us to follow, and that leaves for us as young people to try to navigate the spaces on our own, because it is that we feel the need to, and it is that we also feel that there is in fact you know some sort of um, um, lacking thereof in relation to where are we supposed to go, in relation to our future. I must also say again, and Patrick might beat me for this. The member of parliament has actually been, you know, instrumental in this in terms of guiding us, and I must give him big ups for that. So as it relates to myself, Atari, Kerdane, and there's also another young lady. I don't remember her name. Shakira, is it Kerdane? Sharika, that's such a name.
Yeah, sure you go.
Sharika, right? So it and more are coming on stream now. So what we are trying to do now is we are going to every, Mikey, we know it as Kana, but every space that we know young people are, and we engage them. Just recently, we were in, you know, the distant cousin of Waterhouse, Riverton. Because many of us know that, we are very much intertwined with Riverton City. And we consider them an arm of Waterhouse. So we were over there the other day, with some young people in relation to what it is that we want to do. And part of our way to combat the issues affecting them as well as Waterhouse is that we decide that myself, well, Curdane, it was Curdane's idea, to be honest with you. Let us have a day with the young people from the community for us to go into the universities for them to have an experience of what it is that the university life is like. Because what I find is that most of these young people just know the community as their world, so they don't necessarily know that there is a bigger world, for lack of a better term, out there for them to go and take on, sort of thing. So that is the first step, to get them more exposed. And I also find that, I'm sorry, somebody was saying something in the comment. Let me not pay attention right now. Right. So what I also find as well is that most of the young people is not that they are without, um, you know, opportunities, is that they don't know how to find the opportunities. And this is where we, as young people, can offer our guidance in relation to the processes that we know, myself and Credin and the rest of the team. I also find that, some of the young people, they have, issues as it relates to, you know, people make mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes as young people. So mistakes such as, early stage pregnancy, um, issues with the law, dropping out of school, and the issues are you know a lot. But nevertheless, we started the process, and we've also found that not just young people, but I call them older youth. They want to be a part of the process, but they have responsibilities, and those responsibilities are that of taking care of their households, taking care of their families, being maybe a big brother or a big sister to somebody, and they don't have the know it, and they're coming to us for, ways or resources, especially resources on how to get these things done. I mean, just is last week or day or week before?
Week before last.
Yeah, man, just week before last, some of them approached us in relation to them wanting, you know, bus fare and to go to the Heart Academy. We now have it, we are youth to sort of thing. So these are some of the issues that we face. I'll allow Curtin to give his take on some of the work that we're doing.
All right, so really and truly, engaging with young people, it's a bit more different from engaging with, especially young persons in these communities and from these, as we stated before, Kana, majority of them are, engaging in different activities and all these things, made mistakes in the past and etc. So we as individuals, can't just approach them with how everyone approach them. We have to get to understand their situations, where they're coming from, and we see oftentimes majority of these young persons are often not enrolled in high school. They are going in, I think, roughly around three of them that we spoke to week before last are going in grade 11, and they are currently not in school. Ear plot up on all these things. And you have some persons on the other hand are saying, hey, I have the ambition, I'm willing to work. It's just that I'm not qualified enough, and even if I'm qualified and stuff, I don't have the money to go to work. And even if I'm trying my best to push out and go to work and all these things, the support is just not there from especially the community where I am from, because majority of these persons are from backgrounds where it's either between food on the table or sending the kids to school, and majority of the time they're going to choose food, of course, really and truly. So we have been just trying to engage and help these young persons to be a bit more aware, and help them to just understand holistically how to just be a product of where they're coming from, despite the community, despite of their background norms, and despite of their socio-economic backgrounds. Just, hey, look here, these are some of the steps, because as Ishmael stated, we are all young persons, really and truly. There's so much we can do, and we're just trying our best at this point in time to just help these persons and get them, a bit more engaged, and help them to understand that, listen, there's a much bigger world than what you see every day from your day-to-day operations. From right here down the road, there's a bigger place out there, So, we found out that majority of these young individuals, both male and females, are saying that majority of them have big dreams, to be honest, I was speaking to some of them the other day. They're saying that, hey, I want to be an electrical engineer. Some persons are saying that they want to go along the line of medicine and all these things. But really and truly, it all rallies back on us as how we assist them as a community, and as a young persons on a whole. As I said before, there's so much we can do and no more. So really and truly, one of the main ideas that came into mind, when they were stating and speaking about some of their career paths, was really, what about doing a college tour? So we came up with the idea just to help them to be a bit more aware of what are some of the programs that these universities offers, and what can they be involved in, to be honest, because many of them are saying that, hey, I want to do this now, but this community is not very conducive to my development. And I'm saying, hey bro, look at this, you don't necessarily have to come back here, you being in university, because they're saying that many times they are doing homeworks, they're studying and all these things, but because of the noise and because of what is happening around them and in their community, it's very hard for them to really focus on whatever they're studying and stuff. So I'm saying, hey bro, look at this, life is out there. When you go to university, you have options that you can board on campus, you can study on campus, there are other alternatives. You don't necessarily have to be so confined to this environment. So really and truly, me, Ishmael, and Atarian, other persons are coming along, are just trying to help these persons to be a bit more engaged and help them to reach their full potential, because we oftentimes see that these persons actually have dreams, they actually have aspirations, but it's just not getting enough help and enough push to reach those goals and those aspirations that they set out from a tender age. So that is basically where me and the other young persons in our community has been doing, and trying to help those persons to just engage and be abreast of what is happening, in the world at that.
It's funny. It's funny
Well,
how it's funny.
I want go ahead,
Yeah,
Ishmael.
it's funny. When Curtin said that just now. Initially when we started this process, Curtin can back me up. What we would hear a lot of is, when you can give some farm ticket, farm work ticket, or I just left one left a community and a community I hold down. We would hear that every single time, and it's through continued engagement that we found out that it's not necessarily, that is not necessarily the case, but because you know they continue to hear this perpetuation of leave, 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 that is why they actually want to leave. So I said that to say that there isn't, unfortunately, there aren't many proper, what's that word, mentorship, um in relation to young people in this space. So I know that it's a mammoth task for us, but we are very willing, and I'm happy that Michael gave us the platform to reach out to not just the panelists, but also those inside of the comments, for us to understand that the work is in fact being done. It may be hard, but we can save, if it's even one, right? So I'm facing it as a young person. Curtin is facing it in relation to finding our own way. But that doesn't mean that we can't take along a few with us in relation to making Waterhouse, Waterhouse again.
When I listened to both of you, I said to myself, my work was not in vain. Both of you make me proud, knowing that a generation of activists, community folks come along. I live to see this day. So, brethren, this platform is yours. It's open to you. You tell us how we can support what you're doing. Okay. I want to turn it to the rest of the panelists, and let them ask you some questions, and you deal with some of them questions, because, well, I'm proud of you guys, man. That's all I can say. We want to,
Ishmael,
yeah.
um, yeah, it's funny because as you were talking, Ishmael, it remind me of some of the meetings we have had, right, and discussions. And I remember, for example, giving you an insight into some of the organizations and opportunities that existed back in the 70s, for example, right? And it was funny that you pointed out that you were even a member of one of these organizations. You remember? And when you start to outline to me what that organization is like now, it is a far cry from what it used to be back then. Because in navigating your way with some of these things, what happens is that with youngsters, there are always channels that exist. If they don't exist, then there's the opportunity to set it up, right, in order to facilitate the development of youngsters, right? Like the organization we talk about was a youth leadership training organization, one which I was a member of from my teen years, right? And it had three components to it. It had the individual component, it had the community component, and it had the leadership component, right? And some of these same professional training and so on is some of the training that it used to offer, right? Where it's done in the community, it's done free of charge, and at the same time, it's equivalent to some of the programs that they have even in the universities, right? So it's like you're getting your university training for free. And a lot of times it can happen just out of initiation. For example, if you were to consider approaching any one of the universities in Jamaica and just explain to them what your problem is, right? And the kind of help you need, right? They can much more readily set up a program, right, to facilitate you, not just the ones who qualify, but they can set up something which can get to the ones who even don't qualify, or get to them in a way that can get them qualified. You follow what I'm saying? So a lot of times it's not so much about the money, because the money part is much easier to organize, because everything really comes down to organization, right? How you approach it, right? And that's why you can actually, like they used to say, carve something out of nothing, right? Because it's actually your creative skills that you put to work. But you have to be in tune with how you put these skills to work, or how you develop on these skills, right? And that's where the boldness, right, comes in, because your bold approach is what's gonna really move you forward, is what's gonna set you apart. That's really what it comes down to, right? Face the challenge, right? Ask the question, just like how you come here on the panel, right? And openly and readily ask for assistance, right? It's the same thing, right? Because the resources is all around us. It is always all around us, right? It's just for us to really know to tap into it, right? Companies that operate in your community, right? Don't hesitate to approach them, right? And seek help from them, because they would rather help you than to see you as, you know, a youth who, when, you know, be left for cause problem in the community, right? But they are not readily gonna come to you to offer help. But if you go to them, they will respond. So there are all kinds of ways you can approach it. You know, so I just wanted to offer you that as well.
Rupi,
Yeah, I miss
any
out.
advice?
I'm most of.
Any advice for Ishmael and
Yeah,
Claudine?
I miss out on most of what Patrick were saying because of the internet. But I thought Patrick could have repeat what you said, Michael, initially, by saying that these youngsters make him proud. But that is not how Patrick starts. But I want to just add to the opinion from both yourself and Patrick in relationship to the fact that these young men and young ladies seems to be doing a very good job. I'm thinking about myself too as active in the Civil Rights Gardens Youth Club, Cockburn Pen, the Waterford Youth Club and Youth Movement, and the WPJ Youth Movement in those early days. And one of the things that we learned then was that you just have to try as much as possible every day to be creative. And sometimes to come out of the box. You can't just do the same way everybody I do. But find means and ways to be creative. And one of the things I said to young people, you can't just always stretch your hand and basically look sponsorship and beg. But I think it is imperative that you find forms and find means and ways how you can actually earn, right? And you collectively can put together. You guys are very proficient as it relating to the digital system. There's so much demands in our community like Waterford for different things digitally. And you can find means and ways how possibly you can get started by getting some machines and so on and so forth. And sometime offer service. Those youngsters who very good in making posters and them type of thing. There's so much thing in the rural parts. Sometimes young people come together and them get peace and them farm the land as part of the collect to build them community-based group. You can possibly, depending on where you are, maybe if you can get a little place to rent, and you maybe can start maybe a little community restaurant where you sell meals very economically, and the community would understand that this is a community project and it can. The point I'm making is that we can't just talk to one means of trying to raise funds, but that there is several ways in raising funds, and it is imperative that we become creative and we don't stuck to just the sponsorship. But I agree with Patrick, I mean, you have a lot of big industry, particularly on Spanish Town Road. There's a lot of new industries. And you seems to in our constituency, all that belt, that new belt of industry and Mandela Highway, which happen to fall into Western St. Andrew, or is it St. Andrew Western, whichever, right? That yes, I agree with Patrick. You must present credible projects and seek assistance as it relating to these projects. But it is also important that you have in place, and this is why I said to as a former social development commission person, I always say to groups, make sure you have a credible body. You have to have an organization in place. It can't be Ishmael and Mr. Eskelton and so on and so forth. It must be a body that basically, this is the Waterford Youth Forum, our youth group, and you're connected to the Community Development Council, or to the DAC, which is part of that whole thing as it relating to the Social Development Commission various group. I think them have BAC and CDC and so on and so forth.
Accreditation.
But these are groups that is recognized and accepted by the society as legitimate group. Because the thing in Jamaica about the scamming and the extortion. So companies are extremely don't quickly will give you And therefore, you have to set up bona fide organization, legitimate organization, right? That is accountable. The same way you are talking about the accountability to Parliament and the good standing in terms of um, the type of program that you want to see as youngster. You is getting the opportunity in terms of your community-based organization to put that in place because that is the best training ground for you guys, right? So you want to ensure that you set up that and you have possible documentation, you have a spreadsheet that show who are the members, the executive, and so on and so forth, and all of that with your logo and thing well put together, something well put together, and um, to show that you guys are very organized. It's not just the credibility, but to show that you are very organized, and if people give you whatever, that you are going to take care of it, and it is going to spend, and it is going to the sponsorship is going to worth um, whatever is given from the company or the organization. So that is what I want to say to Ishmael and company as it relating to what you're doing. But like Michael and Patrick, I am also um, happy to know that there is definitely continuation from that stream of young people coming out of the 70s, the 80s, and to some extent the 90s. I think we last focus because young people seems to be, in a general sense, far more materialistic and just thinking about how quick you can get a Prado and a big house. um, and a tendency just to be careerist. Yeah, I agree with you. All of you must try to get tertiary training and get your degree or your master's, whatever. But at the same time, it is important that you find a way always to come back and give back. And that is where I leave my hat to the group of youth, young.
Urban Maxine, and any advice for the young people?
Well, my thought is like what I'm reading in the chat. Uh, they can start a social media platform, even just as themselves, as they formalize and take the advisory. But you know, the world of givers, the world of people that support, you know, social media is a world different from the formalized world, and both should be addressed. But the social media, based on us even being here together, you know, how easily reachable. If that isn't already so, that would be something to do, you know? And just when I say social media, just things that you do at any time with your phone, you know, and wherever you are, and just capturing your genuineness of your appeal, but also the genuineness of your situation that you're seeking to impact. You know, it's quote unquote content, you know, that people are looking to support. Just the other day, someone, I forgot where it was, but they were telling me about a lady off of or a tendency now of a lady off of Mountain View Avenue in a very depressed community. And she's just like, you know, a reality person, you know, just talking every day and showing which house broke down and which house, you know, just linking people
Mm-hmm.
um, on a content level. And they were showing me that how much people have been given assistance, homes built, all kind of things, because she tapped into a viral, you know, situation about how she herself it's seen on the social media platform. It's very powerful. I'm saying that because even me myself, I'm challenged to, you know, get with it, start talking in this manner on the issues that you have and that you find that world out there is so huge. I mean, the people are taking your content and just going in front of it. You understand what I'm saying? And just creating opportunities for people to support even young people like yourself, because every mickle make a muckle. So that's what I would say. I think you guys are very intelligent and you're in a situation that you can express what you're saying, but you can also show um, on a informal basis the areas that you really want to impact and why. So that's what I would add to what has been said so far. Definitely. Start with a group. You can start with a business name. You don't have to fully register as yet because everything is steps. So just give yourself a name and register it as a business name. And as you build up yourself, you incorporate it more, widen it if that, isn't already happening.
Brethren,
Yeah, yeah, Mikey.
go ahead, Herb.
Yeah, I mean, this is a conversation I know extensively. Myself, Patrick, Dr. Claire Nelson, and Ishmael, and some others I've had before. And what we're saying is okay, the diaspora can help in certain areas of training and maybe finding funding for the training development. But we can't really hire anybody because we don't own anything in Jamaica. But we can write recommendations to organizations that are able to do the actual employment. Now, there's a thing I posted, self-initiative and exploration. Young people can explore various vocational training centers, community colleges, and technical institutes. They can seek out apprenticeships, internships, or mentorship opportunities in the fields of interest. Joining clubs, associations, or community groups related to their career aspirations can provide networking and learning opportunities. In summary, Jamaican youth can actively engage in CAP, National Youth Service, and other skill building programs while exploring ways to develop themselves. The training as a entrepreneurships, right? Believe it or not, there are a lot of young people. They get their supplies from the U.S. and they go door to door selling stuff, and eventually then they can establish a storefront operation where they can operate from, or they can keep operating from home. Depends on what you're selling, right? So the bottom line is you've got to find a niche that you're able to capitalize on, literally, and you got to work that program. But at the same time, you need that education, and education that will give you options. When I say give you options, for instance, in Guyana have the oil and gas industry, and I've said this before. They're short, critically short in a lot of skills for oil and gas industry. And they keep having these strikes where they find new gas fields to explore. They're advertising at one point they needed 4,000 welders. A lot of them are underwater welders. I don't know if there's an underwater welding school in Jamaica or a mentorship program, but it would be interesting because underwater welders make like up to $500 an hour, US, right? Not Jamaican, US. So when you're looking at the skill sets that's needed in the oil and gas industry, then you might be able to train and develop skills that are acceptable uh, to CARICOM. Having a CARICOM, the ability to travel in CARICOM is very essential um, to having a future, because there's a lot of openings there. Now, whatever you do, you have to do your homework. You have to research. You have to look at the various employment opportunities across the Caribbean. Jamaica is known not to have training and development for its laborers. They have the lowest wage paid to laborers probably in the Caribbean. When you look at the Cayman Islands, you look at Turks and Caicos, it's a lot more attractive. Training and development um, and having the adequate skill sets to work in those industries are essential. So it's on you while you're in school that you need to train and develop your skill sets to be able to compete in these islands where there's employment and where you have an opportunity to migrate. And then you can start looking at the larger opportunities in Canada, the US, or even the UK. So that is my advice. We all survive somehow migrating, and
Can I just
it's
add one thing quick to herb something, Michael?
Go
I
ahead, bro.
just learned that 80% of students out of the Maritime Institute within 6 months um, get employment both locally and abroad. While it take those coming straight out of the academia, UWI, UTech, or university, or technology, another um, institution, literally sometime years before these graduates get work. So her point about the those with a cross between academic and technical skills seems to fare out much better, both in terms of what them earn and the speed in which them can actually be employed.
Well, on that note, I think we're at the end of our streaming. We've been here 2 hours and 12 minutes, and I think we have exhausted the topic we set out to want to discuss. But there's one thing I want to turn to. Maxine, you watching the Puff Diddy thing in America? I asked you, and I tell you why I asked you, because I see Clive Davis at the center of it. I see Puff Diddy. I see DJ Khaled. And DJ Khaled, I saw him with a number of reggae dancehall artists. So I'm wondering what is going there, because this thing with Puff Diddy, is there anything that the Jamaican industry should be aware of that might
No,
spill over from Puff Diddy?
no, I don't think so. Puff Daddy and
No, I'm
just
talking about DJ Khaled, because he was in Jamaica all over the space and what have you.
yeah,
And
but it was very I mean, from
yeah,
what I observe and I know DJ Khaled, when they come in, how they work, I and how they associate, I don't see. I mean, this thing with the mix up of the lifestyle has been going on from the 90s. Well, certainly when I was, heavy in
70s.
the industry. This is not a today, or in fact, a lot of the cases that is being called upon or he's being sued by are from the 90s. you know, it's from behavior 20, 30 years ago. It's not, I think a guy, some producer guy just made a complaint, but it is interesting if you look at the bulk of them, they're coming from a particular
Period.
time frame. You know what I mean? I don't think, I think, for example, I know Sizzler hit out a lot against, he had a
Khalid.
big issue the other day with DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
And, you know, they know about their behavior. A lot of our people are Rastafari people are, you know, they come from a very um kind of
I
scenario.
think you should
I
stop.
don't, huh? So I can say from, because I know a lot of the guys in the dancehall area and stuff, and I know what happened when I was in the industry. It was a lot of influence, and there was a lot of, in fact, there was a period when all of us were banned. So we are promoting murder music in relation to the gay, you know, lifestyle, which was very rampant as how you see it being, not just gay, like, you know, the whole, a lot of it is driven by, or the sensationalism is dealing with the, you know, the gay part. And then it just go over into drugs and re. So
Okay.
I can't tell you that any of the people that I know at the top of the dancehall energy would be called, you know, nobody was that closely running with them. Yeah. So I see where like J Lo or certain like how they say Clive Davis, yes, you do know that, you know, those exclusive parties,
The freak party, the freak
the
off
freak
party.
parties, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
that's been going on from Woiwo. That was part of why even Bunny Wailer, you know, once you go up there, you kind of see something and it's up to you. Like you can be around it and don't get involved. You know what I mean? But you still go around it for the networking. And like, you know, certain people say, yes, we've been to the parties, but we leave at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
You
Some
understand? We don't
are,
stay for 12,
are
1,
some are some people see it and exit right away and move from the industry,
say
everything.
hello, spend an hour, you network, and you move.
Mm.
It's just a game. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you. Like I said, that's been going on from Greece, from,
Well,
I call it
Maxine,
those great Socrates and whatever. They've all always had this kind of a.
Let us hope that no Jamaican act will be caught, will mention in this thing, you know?
No, no,
Michael,
no.
you don't
Yes.
You
have
know,
to.
even what's the name? Prince Harry's in it. Like, they could be anywhere. Like, you know, they just show up at your party, but because there's a picture of them at your party, it's like, is it their party or your party?
Industry party.
Industrial parties.
Industry
Michael,
party.
if I can just say one thing
Go ahead.
pertaining to the discussion with the youngsters there is a very key point, and I think Rupi first mentioned it and Herb spoke to it somewhat, is that what has to be paramount in what you're doing is the technology right now, because that is the age we're in, right? In fact, the way it is put is that we are right now in the middle of the third industrial revolution. Right now, we don't have to necessarily believe and subscribe to it, but nonetheless, it's something that's happening around us. Right? So technology is the key right here. There are all kinds of opportunities opening up, and you'd be amazed. Things really can jump off much faster using the technology, right? That's available. And it's not always costly. At times you can use it and it costs free, but the returns that it can bring can be enormous.
Okay.
So I just want you to bear that in mind at all times.
And Michael, I just to add, you don't have to leave Jamaica to engage in these
Yeah.
freak parties. Okay,
Oh,
it exists in Jamaica more than you care to imagine, right?
yep.
What you have to do is ask a representative from, say, the National Intelligence Bureau or MOCA or one of these other CTOC or one of these organizations to come on and speak to what do they find that our kids who are being trafficked are involved in. There's a lot of trafficking, and I can tell you,
Do you know of anyone we can contact?
yeah, I
All
can
right.
get
Well,
I send you a name, right?
set it up, and we'll have the person on the platform. Set it up because
Yeah,
that's a serious topic that need to be explored. You know.
yeah, yeah. But our parents in Jamaica, I would say, are asleep when it comes to that subject because
Well,
there's a lot of kids missing, and they don't say anything or do anything.
well, make the connection, my brother. Make the connection, and we just give me the date. You know the time, and we take it from here. You know. So
All
don't
right.
worry about that. I
Right.
want to
So
thank everyone for
just before you guys
go
go,
ahead.
so there are two, as Curtin would have said, so there are two projects that we're working on now,
Yeah.
and I do understand, all the
Suggestions.
thank you, the suggestions that were made, and most if not all will be looked into and acted upon. However, immediately we have you know two projects that we're working on, one of which is the college tour, and you know not asking for a hand, but some guidance in relation to getting these things done. The only thing that we have outstanding in relation to that is getting the transportation for that particular set of young people to do that. So that is an issue that we're currently looking into. But if it is that you are anybody and anyone in the comments that are willing to assist, that would be wonderful. So that is one.
What are we talking about? What are we talking? Give some.
Transport
Transportation, I said it,
Yeah,
transportation. So we
yeah,
don't
but
have,
transportation is a big thing. What
so
oh, like for
exactly?
how
so
many people?
about
Yeah,
25 people
Okay, so
so
and
that's
and
far.
poster.
Right.
and how
But
much you rent that? That are those
I'm not
questions you
sure,
have
to
to
be honest.
answer.
And the last I heard was 35,000. That's the last I heard, but I'm not sure. So that is one. So the next thing is, I have been, and Curdy knows about this. So I have been working on a project, that it is sports related. It's using sports as a vehicle to teach soft skills such as leadership, conflict resolution, and civic engagement. But we will use sports as the vehicle, and in relation to that, it is going around the community.
Oh, hold on, I hear a noise. I don't know. Somebody, there's a noise
Okay,
there.
so it is using sports as the vehicle, as I would have said. Having them register a team, and we would have, just before the starting of each round of competition, we would have a workshop in relation to conflict resolution, job readiness, leadership, civic engagement, and then they will now use what they would have just learned, you know, a particular way inside of the football games, as well as, after every round, they will be required to do a small scale project to show that they are in fact participating and learning as they move along into the competition. So that is something that we're actively pursuing in relation to
Ishmael, I think you should talk to Herb. Herb has a connection around using sports. And Herb, can you talk with
we have
Ishmael?
we have spoken, and he put me on to the guy over Portmore. Is it Herb?
Yeah, yeah,
We'll put
Portmore,
him
and
him
and and there's the superintendent who's now running Project Star. which is very essential that you talk to him too.
You have a
Okay.
number? You have a number for him? You can
I
share with him.
will I will get it to Ishmael. I'll get it to
Okay.
him.
All right. And Ishmael, you
Right
keep up.
there.
You tell us what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, man, will
Yeah.
do. And thank you so much for to your many people in the comments that has been supporting and critiquing and advising. I respect them, and I respect them. And I love the suggestions coming out of the comments. Thank you so much.
So
Really
we see you.
appreciate
We
it.
see. We see you next Sunday, right? You and Cruden, right?
Yeah, mama, there, man. Ready in there.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, man, no
Yeah. So
problem.
I want to thank everyone for the discussion, the journey today, and it's always good when we can come together and talk without any fuss or fight. And I hope listeners will learn something from us. If them not learn, I say it go. But if they learn something, that's even higher. So until next Sunday, remember, same time, same space. Waterhouse Vibes every Sunday, 4 p.m. American time, 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And finally, like, share, and subscribe to Waterhouse Vibes. Until next week, see you all. One
Walk
love.
good.
All right.
Yes, my brother.
Blessings,
Walk good.
everybody. All right.